Hey, good afternoon everybody, it's Cory, and this is my Q&A video. Thank you very much for sending in your questions and stuff all across my social media. I got so many questions that I had to try to categorize them because I got a lot of repeat questions. So hopefully my answers today in this video can answer the many questions that all of you guys sent me. So once again, thank you for submitting all your questions. The most common question I received from many of you people out there is why Vietnam? Why Hanoi? Why not some other country? And since you did choose Vietnam, why Hanoi versus Saigon? I wanted to mention this just real briefly. If you're new to the channel, please watch this video up in the corner that kind of gives you a rough idea of why I left Korea. I won't go into the details. You know, major life change after 4.5 years living in Seoul. Just came to the point where I needed to think about my life. What did I want to do? And what felt right was to just try something new. It's been in my blood anyways to move every 3 to 4 years. I think the longest amount of time I've ever spent in one location actually was Seoul City for 4.5 years. Everywhere else I've moved. I've moved every 3 years, every 2 years, new apartments, new cities, new states. It was a really tough decision, but at the same time it wasn't so tough because 2 years ago I came here to Vietnam for about a week and I fell in love with the country. The food was great, the people are amazing, the culture is really nice, there's a lot of history here, the landscapes and the beaches and the trees and stuff like that, it's all just really gorgeous. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me when I was thinking of what country to go to. Definitely not America right now, not Japan, which is where I'm from, but it's a little too expensive. Vietnam, low cost of living, and Vietnam is located in a really great location in Southeast Asia, so it's like a nice home base for me to like take off to all the different countries surrounding this area. So that was the reason why I chose Vietnam. Now, why did I choose Hanoi over Saigon? That one's a little bit more specific, and it has to do with two things. It's essentially like the vibe of the city and also weather. So I did, research between Hanoi and Saigon. Where should I go? Blah, 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 blah. Many people are recommending me to go to Saigon because it's like a new, modern, up-and-coming city, lots of people, lots of things to do, very like cosmopolitan and stuff like that. And that's not what I was looking for. If I wanted that, I would have just stayed in Seoul. When I came 2 years ago, I visited Hanoi, and there was something about this place. How do I explain it? The old French colonial architecture that still exists all around the city. Very nice boulevards, tall trees, creating awesome shade canopies. There's just this old character and feel. It's like really rough around the edges, and that's kind of like the raw kind of place that I wanted to go to. And now looking at the weather, Hanoi's in the north and Saigon's way in the south, and so there's a very big difference in their weather patterns. Now down in the south it's much closer to the equator and it's pretty warm like all year round. Hanoi in the north actually does get a slight winter here, so people actually do wear like jackets and stuff like that. It doesn't really snow in Hanoi, but it definitely gets chilly enough that you need to like layer up. And for me, I used to live in Hawaii for a number of years. When you experience like that kind of temperature every single day, it can drive you a little bit crazy. At least it did for me. There was times where I didn't know that it was winter except for the influx of all the tourists coming to Hawaii. So I'm like, oh, hey, all the cruise ships are coming in. It must be December. So I really wanted a place that had like a temperature change, you know what I mean? Just so I can keep my sanity. So that's the other factor of why I chose to live in Hanoi. Okay, I got a question from Kimmy Angeline Sangre and Tracy Nguyen. Am I going to move back to Korea someday? The answer right now is probably no. I definitely will visit. My Korean relatives are all there, grandmother, uncle, aunts, cousins. They all live there, so I definitely will be visiting. But as for living right now, I want to just try something new, want to feel this place out, see how it goes. But yeah, I don't have any plans on moving back to Korea. Okay, another question from Iluj Uv. I hope I'm saying that right. How long do you plan on staying in Hanoi? This is a tough question for me to answer right now. The initial goal was to come here and stay for just 1 year. Maybe after 5 or 6 months, I might just decide to move out and go somewhere else, like Da Nang or Hue or Hoi An. Yeah, so I may go check those out. I may not. I don't know. Right now, the goal is to just stay in Hanoi for 1 year, play it by ear, and see what happens. Ania Zajak asks, what were my first impressions of Vietnam and Hanoi? I love it. The people are great, very friendly. A lot of people are smiling when you interact with them and stuff like that. Food is really great. Cost of living, amazing. It's so cheap to live here. One of the first things that people do notice, all the motorcycles. So that's definitely one thing that's kind of like a culture shock for a lot of people. It's just the sheer number of motorcycles. I think there's like 1.5 motorcycles per person in this country. There has to be. I mean, there's just millions and millions of motorcycles. So that's something that, you know, takes a while to get used to, but it's really cool once you like ride around and, you know, even ride around on the back of someone else's moped and let them drive, and you get to just like enjoy the scenery and stuff. It's really fun. I think it's a really cool way to get around. Hanoi is definitely designed for motorbike use. I would definitely not get a car here. It's, you know, buying a car is just way too expensive here, first of all, and then driving a car through millions of motorcycles, no thank you. So that kind of answers the main question that I received from a lot of people, you know, why Vietnam, why Hanoi, what were my thoughts? And then this kind of leads into a bunch of other questions that are somewhat related. So I'm just going to try to go through and just list them all one by one and answer them to the best of my ability. All right, so my friend Hugh from My Korean Husband, Hugh asks, what are the biggest differences living in Vietnam compared to Korea? Let's see, first, like I mentioned, is all the motorcycles. There's no real major like public transportation system here. There is a bus, but I've never used it. And every time I've ever seen it, it's flying by at high speeds, honking really loud, and it's completely packed. So most people commute by motorcycle here in this country. In Korea, cars. You know, cars or public transportation, especially if you live in the city like Seoul or in Busan. Parking's a bitch, so it's just easier to take the subway or ride the bus. Here you have to either own a motorbike or call a taxi or use Uber or Grab. I use Uber and Grab, and then I get the motorbike option, and it's super cheap to go across the city. I spend like $1, $2, if that. Like $2 I think was the most I've ever paid. Okay, Paige Kaufman asks, how do you find the transition of moving from Seoul, where there's a lot of English signs, to Hanoi, where there's less English signs? For me personally, it's not a problem. I can get around totally fine around the city. I know where things are. Google Maps works here, and so that's like a very efficient way for me to know like where I'm at, what streets to go down, and all that stuff. So for me, the transition wasn't so much of a big deal at all. It's not like going from, say, Seoul to Tokyo. And then so Tokyo, there's many signs not in English whatsoever. They only use like the kanji and hiragana or katakana. And if you don't know how to read any of those things, you're pretty much screwed. So that would be like a really big transition into like daily life living in a city. But from Seoul to Hanoi, not so much. It's pretty good. So that kind of like ties into a question by Sandy Edwards, and she asks, how does Google Maps over there work? And can you get decent walking directions easily? So Google Maps works perfectly fine in Hanoi, unlike Seoul, where you can't really get walking directions. Here in Hanoi, you can get walking directions through Google Maps. I use Google Maps all the time, almost every single day when I'm out and about walking around Hanoi. It has every street listed, the GPS works. I don't really use walking directions. I just mainly go by like looking at the map and realizing where I need to turn or stop and stuff like that. But it's very efficient. Google Maps works here. All right, so Don McCall asks, is Seoul, Hanoi family friendly for foreigners? And also, which place do I feel has a more relaxed atmosphere? So Seoul, Hanoi is definitely family friendly, both places. The only thing that I would suggest for people with families, children especially, who could like run away from their parents, is be mindful of the traffic situation, both cities. It doesn't matter. Seoul, a lot of cars are not paying attention to pedestrians. They think that they have the right of way because they are a vehicle. And so, you know, fuck everybody else. I'm the car. I'm just gonna go. Vietnam, you don't have to worry so much about like motorcycles and stuff speeding like they do in Seoul, but you definitely have to worry about the fact that motorcycles do not stop. So they're going slow and they'll dodge you or something like that. The only time they stop is if there's a red light or if they really think that they're gonna hit you or somebody else. But most people are going slow enough that they can kind of just like dodge each other and stuff like that. So it's kind of like this like really insane organized chaos. But I would say it's definitely friendly. I've seen foreigners with little babies, and the local Vietnamese people come up and they're just like, oh, the cute little baby, and you know, so very friendly. Same with Korea, people love children, people are very friendly towards babies. And as for which place has the more relaxed atmosphere, I would definitely say it's Vietnam. They even have kind of like a siesta hour after lunchtime. It's just too hot to work outside in the sun, so people take like an hour and a half break to like take a nap, go eat ice cream, or hang out with coworkers or family, enjoy some tea or some coffee and stuff like that. They're just like always chilling, and even in the evening time, they're just like chilling on these plastic chairs outside, drinking tea, and just like staying cool and enjoying each other's company. Seoul, people definitely, you know how to have a good time. They go out with the picnic blankets and stuff out to like the hangang and, you know, have chicken and beer, watch like the sunset. But I feel like it's not so relaxed because people are always like pali pali, like the pali pali culture, like just quickly, do everything quickly. So you see a lot of people just like constantly walking fast, not paying attention to like all the people around them. They don't want to talk, they just want to get from point A to point B. When Koreans work, they work hard and they're all business. So I would definitely say that Seoul is not as relaxed as Hanoi. Okay, we got a question from Kang Sin Jung here. He asks, does Hanoi have an expat area, and how is it like received by the local Vietnamese? And what is the vibe with the Vietnamese people towards foreigners in general? So Hanoi does have a expat kind of district called Taeho, and I personally haven't really gone into like the thick of it, where I'm told that like every shop on the street, the people speak fluent English. You could go there, you could find all your like deli shops and cafes and yoga studios and stuff like that. It's all there, but that's not what I like, so I don't go there. Now with Itaewon is much larger than Taeho from what I saw on the map, but I also know Itaewon a lot better. Itaewon has a crap ton of foreigners, but there's also a crap ton of Koreans there. Taeho, I haven't really gone into the thick of it, so I don't know really, like, is it a Vietnamese neighborhood that just happens to have a lot of expats, or is it like all expats and like no Vietnamese? I'm not sure, so I can't really answer that question. As for the vibe of Vietnamese people towards foreigners, every experience I've ever had was completely positive, super friendly. Everyone's smiling, people want to make jokes, people want to practice what little English they do know. And I've had a few people who found out that I was American, and then they were like, yeah, go America, and they were like happy. And I kind of got the same thing in Korea too, where people were like, oh, you're American? I love America, because for Korea, the Americans saved South Korea from North Korea taking over. Over here, it was opposite. The Americans fled. I don't want to get too much into that topic because it is very sensitive, and I don't have all the experience or knowledge to give like a clear answer. But from my experiences so far, everything's been completely positive and really nice. So I'm a Forester asks, how does this experience starting afresh in Hanoi compare to when I first moved to Seoul? I would say that the move to Hanoi has been a lot easier and much quicker in getting settled in than it was in Korea. So before I moved to Korea 4.5 years ago, I was actually living in America for 13 years straight. And before that was like Japan. 13 years in America, going back to Asia, I had to like relearn about Asian life, you know what I mean? Asian city life and stuff like that. Even though it's like so familiar, it's in my blood, I just kind of was out of touch with it. So getting used to the city life and stuff like that, language barriers, just like the way people do things, the way people buy food, the way people interact with each other. But like once you figure that kind of stuff out, you can just apply it to any other country, right? So I applied it to here in Hanoi. It really helped me get settled in quickly. I was able to find a place within the first week. All these different things about me moving to Hanoi were a lot easier because I had gone to Seoul 4.5 years ago and did all those things. And Charla from Charla in Japan, or Charmander. She asks, what's your favorite thing about Vietnam so far? I would have to say it is the cost of living. Food is so cheap. Like, I can just have an amazing, authentic Vietnamese meal for like 50 cents, $1. You know what I mean? Like, I cook at home, of course, but I much prefer to go down the street and have like legit pho or some amazing spring rolls and stuff like that. There's just so much good food here, and it's so cheap. And the same thing goes for like daily living things. So I can go to the store and buy like, you know, soap, batteries, soy sauce, like all this stuff, and I could leave the store with like a mountain haul of all kinds of crap, and it would cost me like $4. You know what I mean? Like super, super cheap. Yeah, so I would have to say, Charla, that is my favorite thing. So I received quite a few questions from people asking about, do I miss Korea? And what do I miss about Korea? Yeah, of course I miss Korea. My family's there, my friends are there. So what specifically do I miss about Korea? Well, number one, food. Korean food, obviously, best food ever. And trying to find it here in Hanoi is not too difficult, but the price is a little high. It's almost like eating at a Korean restaurant in the States. You know, you get like a bowl of sundubu jjigae and you're paying like $8 to $10 for it here in Hanoi. Meanwhile, back in Korea, you're paying like $4 or $5 at the most for a bowl of sundubu. It's like very basic, you know what I mean? So I definitely miss the food, but luckily there is a Lotte Center nearby, which actually has a Lotte Mart in it, just like being in Seoul. I walk around in there, they sell soju, they sell shinramyeon, they sell gochujang, they sell all the necessities for Korean cooking. And so I have those ingredients here at home, and so if I get like a little bit crazy because I haven't had my jjigae, just go ahead and I make some jjigae. Yeah, they sell kimchi, like authentic, real kimchi from Korea. Inquisitive M asks, do I like Vietnam or Korea better? Now, that is a hard question to answer because both countries are completely different from each other, other than the fact that they have a somewhat similar war history, and then they also have a history that goes back very long. But other than that, they're two separate entities. I can't really say I choose one over the other. I'm obviously more familiar with Korea because I was there for a much longer amount of time. Vietnam is definitely a place that I enjoy living in also. And I'm definitely like a sponge, just trying to like soak up as much of whatever I can about Vietnam life. I haven't lived in these other countries, but I've been to like Hong Kong and Taiwan and stuff. And I really enjoyed those countries as well. So I figured like anywhere I go in Asia, I'm just gonna like really enjoy that country, you know what I mean? Okay, I hope I'm saying this name correctly. To Eun, I apologize if I just butchered your name, but To asks, do you intend to learn Vietnamese language so you can easily communicate with the locals? I wouldn't say I'm gonna become like a fluent Vietnamese speaker, but I definitely will like self-study here and there and like watch some like language videos. One day I might like actually join like a Vietnamese language class and try to get some better help with like pronunciation. It's a very difficult language to learn, and I don't see myself becoming fluent in Vietnamese ever, but I at least want to try and speak and sound like a local, you know what I mean? I'll be learning slowly over time. All right, Sue Simmons asks, what is the most inconvenient thing I've experienced in Vietnam so far? I'm going to have to say it's the weather. What I mean by that is it's rainy season, so like I'll wake up, it'll be nice and sunny, I'll take a shower, I'll eat some breakfast, I'll get, you know, dressed and get all the camera gear ready to go out and go somewhere and film or whatever. And I step out my door and then it just starts downpouring for hours. It has done that many times, many consecutive days in a row. It can be a little bit frustrating, especially when you don't have a motorcycle or anything like that to get around. So I have to like rely on using Uber, and then that means I have to like use a raincoat. There are cars which I could use, but once I get to wherever I need to go, I can't walk around because it's just completely pouring down heavy buckets of rain, like fat drops of rain, ridiculous. So that's been like the biggest inconvenience so far. It's definitely hindered my plans on like going out and seeing stuff, doing things. So I'm just really hoping that the rainy season ends soon. That way I can get out there more and start showing more of the city to you guys. So Jerry Steele asks, After you settle in, do you plan on taking any trips around Vietnam? Absolutely. One of my goals is to just get out there and experience every region of Vietnam. And each region has its own like sub-regions and all these different like cool places. I would love to get way up into the mountains and stuff like that in northern Vietnam, like Sapa and other areas. There's just like amazing culture up there, the indigenous people that live up there, the food, the clothing, all kinds of stuff. It's completely different from the rest of Vietnam. I really am looking forward to seeing that. I also want to get back to central Vietnam. There was some amazing food in central Vietnam that I cannot find up here in the north. And I've never been to the south. I've never visited the Mekong Delta. I've never been to Saigon. I'm really excited to get down there eventually and try all the food, meet the people, hear the difference in the dialects from north and south. Like that's going to be like so interesting. So I'm really excited to like get those trips started so I can experience that stuff. Caitlin Johnson asks a very important question. What's your biggest piece of advice for someone that wants to travel full-time and be a nomad? Biggest piece of advice is have a plan. You need to figure out how you're going to live, how you're going to eat, how you're going to make income to support those things, and how to be healthy and safe. You know, shelter and, you know, take care of yourself if you get sick. So there is that term digital nomad, and that's essentially where you could work mobily from anywhere in the world as long as you have your laptop and an internet connection. So you could do all kinds of stuff. If you can do whatever you do, but do it online and make income that way, that's going to be a really great first step into becoming a nomad traveling full-time and not having to worry about returning back home to your 9 to 5 with your 2 weeks of vacation a year. A lot of people, including myself, are aiming for that kind of like digital nomad lifestyle where we get to set the rules, you know, come up with our own game plans of what we want to do and how we want to live our lives. So definitely just like follow your heart, follow your dreams, make a plan, make it happen. So Quackers asked 2 questions that I really like. What country would you like to visit next? And would you ever go back to Japan? I don't know what country I would visit next. I might want to try to go to the Philippines or to like Malaysia. If not those 2 countries, then maybe a little bit closer to Vietnam, like Thailand, Cambodia, and Laos. Never been to those countries. I essentially just want to go everywhere. One country that's like really huge on my bucket list since I was like in 7th grade when I read that book, City of Joy, was India. And India, just something about India really fascinated me. And so now that I'm in Vietnam, I'm not too far from India, and I'm hoping to make that happen eventually. And about moving back to Japan, yes, absolutely. That thought comes into my mind quite often. I was born there, I was raised there. I spent kindergarten through high school there. The only times that I wasn't there for school was 3rd, 4th, 5th grade when I was living in Hawaii. My Japanese language skills were actually very, very high at one point in my life. And I even went to the University of Hawaii for 2 years studying Japanese language to become an interpreter. Things changed and I changed my major and I went to art school instead. And from that point on, when I was 20, until now, I had not really spoken any Japanese at all. And so like that ability just went out the door. So now I can like speak broken sentences. Listening is still a little bit okay, but there's just so much I forgot. I used to know so much kanji, and oh man, just like it would be nice to get that language ability back. So the thought about moving to Japan does cross my mind. Love Japan, I miss Japan. We'll see. So Tanner Hooper asks, what has been your favorite country to live in so far? This is a tough one. I want to say it's between South Korea and Japan. Japan is where I spent the majority of my youth, and so I had a lot of fun there, a lot of memories growing up, a lot of crazy times and stuff like that. So that's all like what I have associated with Japan. So it was like a really fun time. Like, oh my God, it was great growing up in Japan. South Korea, it was really great because I got to be more in touch with my actual Korean heritage and learn a little bit more about the language and the food and the people and stuff like that. So I would say it's a tough call. It's between Japan and South Korea for sure. Okay, the next question is from my best friend from Japan, Cami. It's her son, Alex, and his username is Alex Cadavra. I love that, by the way. He asks, is there Starbucks in Vietnam? I love this question. Yes, there's definitely Starbucks, Alex. There's, I think, 4 or 5 in Hanoi, and I don't know how much throughout the rest of the country. So the chain has definitely spread around the world, even to some corners of Vietnam. I would never go to Starbucks though, knowing that it's here. If you didn't know, Alex, Vietnamese coffee is wonderful. It is the best coffee I've ever had in the world, except for Kona coffee. Kona coffee and Vietnamese coffee, amazing stuff. I used to work on a Kona coffee farm on the Big Island, so I have like pretty good experience with all that. But Vietnamese coffee, there's just something about that thick, rich coffee, and then when they put the condensed sweet milk in it, oh man, it's just so good. So I would suggest that, like, if you're traveling around the world at any point in your life, definitely skip the Starbucks and go down to the local coffee shop. They probably will have a much better roast and be not so corporate. I hope I'm saying this right. Francois Girbod asks, hey Cory, how do you get internet connection? Did you buy pocket Wi-Fi, or is provided by your apartment? So my apartment comes with Wi-Fi internet access on the floor. Like, each floor has its own router, and so there's definitely like high-speed internet access. It's not a problem. So that's how I get my internet connection while I'm at home. And then while I'm out and about on my phone, I have a SIM card in here which has a data plan. So whenever that runs low, you can just run around Hanoi and find a SIM shop. There's so many everywhere because everybody uses this SIM card system to like up their data plans and their phone plans and stuff like that. So you just top off your data and you're good to go. And so that's like literally how I get around the city with internet access. And yeah, so I don't have a pocket Wi-Fi egg or anything like that. And Bintron asks, how fast is the internet here? I would say it's very comparable to Korea. I was very surprised. I have no problems streaming Game of Thrones in HD from HBO in America. I have no problem watching Netflix here in HD. I have no problem watching anything really in HD. Tonrace Travels asks, are there any issues with street dogs? Absolutely not. There are a lot of dogs here in Vietnam. I didn't realize that, but I didn't really see a lot of street dogs. There's just people who own dogs, but the dogs are off leash, and then they kind of like wander around like outside of the store, in the streets and stuff like that, but then they kind of just like stick to that one area because that's their home. So I haven't really encountered any like just wild street dogs like walking around in packs, you know, female dogs with like nipples dragging to the ground because she's had like 400 kids. So I haven't really encountered that yet here in Hanoi, but maybe there might be some issues out in like smaller villages and stuff like that where there are just like wild dogs that could potentially attack you or bite you. Here in Hanoi, not a problem. Anytime I see a dog, it's always just so happy, tongue hanging out, and it looks like it's smiling. And they're just chilling and stuff. They watch you go by. They like you when you pet them and stuff like that. So, so far, no problem with street dogs. So Teef asks, any rats come into the home yet? The answer is no. No rats here at all. I've seen rats outside, like looking out the window. I can see them going around. I can tell that there's like a nest somewhere nearby. But I live on the second floor, and there's really no way for the rat to access my windows at all. I don't think they can't really come in through the walls. The walls aren't like drywall. It's actual just like hard cement. So yeah, no rats. Haven't seen any cockroaches, haven't seen any ants. The only things that I've seen coming into my apartment are mosquitoes when I open the window in the evening. A few do come in and I have to kill them. I do have like a mosquito bug thing that's like plugged into the wall, and it releases like some kind of chemical that kills the mosquitoes. And then there's also geckos. Little geckos come in. I especially see like the little baby geckos. I think a few times I've seen like the larger adult-sized geckos, but they're the same kind of geckos that you can find in Hawaii anywhere. I don't know the exact kind of species, but I've had a few of those in my apartment, and I don't mind those at all. They're there to eat the bugs. They're there to eat the mosquitoes and other weird things. So I like welcome them into my home, you know what I mean? Rezuna asks, is it a dangerous place to walk around with your gadgets? Hanoi, not so much. I was told to just kind of be cautious. I'm just trying not to advertise that I have equipment, you know what I mean? Like if I'm gonna blog, I'm not like out there flashing it for everyone to see and yelling and making a noise where people are gonna notice that I'm doing this stuff. You know, just cautious. It is not a problem. I don't worry about people driving by on motorcycles trying to like yank my bag off my back or anything like that. But I did hear that in Saigon, it actually is a problem. Saigon, people will steal your shit. Hanoi seems very chill. People are just leaving each other alone. People are relaxing. So I really like that, but I'm also cautious, you know what I mean? So just be aware of my surroundings. Don't flash my expensive camera shit everywhere. And yeah, so no problems. All right, guys, I hope this video helps you get a little bit better understanding about me and why I chose to come here and what my life is like here and some other different things. And I hope to have another Q&A next month and hopefully set up like a live Q&A so that we can do like a live chat thing. I think that'll be a lot of fun. I kind of miss live streaming. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Please check me out on all my social media, support me on Patreon, and leave comments and questions down below. I love your questions. I love your comments. I love to reply to that stuff. So definitely keep giving that stuff to me. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.